What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Mask, where we rip into the darkest secrets of Scream and the slasher world. Today we're trekking into a lost chapter of the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise, a version of I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer that never made it to the big screen. Forget the 2006 ghost story. The original plans for I Know What You Did Last Summer 3 were a wild, blood-soaked ride, a wilderness nightmare, and a twisted tale of a victim who just wouldn't stay dead. So grab your survival kit, because we are diving into the slasher that could have been. Okay, let's rewind to the early noughties. The I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise is still a slasher heavyweight. The first film, a coastal killer, raked in $125 million. The second one took us to the Bahamas, but stumbled with critics at $84 million. And fans were craving for a third chapter, and in August 2000, Columbia Pictures announced I Know What You Did Last Summer 3, later known as I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. But the 2006 direct-to-video film we got, a Colorado ghost story, wasn't the original plan. Oh no, the original scripts were something entirely different. A wilderness slaughter and a chilling twist where the victim fights back. Let's uncover these lost gems. Now brace yourself. The first version of I Know What You Did Last Summer 3 was a bold swing, a group of teens on an outward bound style wilderness excursion, hunted by a deadly assailant. Then by July 2005, a new script by Michael D. Weiss flipped the script. A group of teenagers think they killed a man, only to find out he's not dead and he's coming for them, which was very similar to the original film. Both versions were standalone, ditching the coastal vibes for something darker, fresher and terrifying. First up, the wilderness concept, likely tied to the 2000 script by Simon Barry. Picture this: a group of teens, maybe college kids or adventure junkies, on an outward bound survival course. We're talking rugged mountains, dense forests, total isolation. They're learning to climb, navigate, survive. But something goes wrong. A prank, a fall, a deadly accident. They cover it up, thinking they're all in the clear. Then the notes start appearing. I know what you did last summer. An assailant, hook in hand, starts picking them off. The wilderness isn't just a backdrop, it's a death trap. Narrow trails, dark caves, no escape. This was Friday the 13th meets the Blair Witch Project meets I Know What You Did Last Summer. Pure slasher terror in the wild. Now fast forward to July 2005 and things get even crazier. Sony's moving forward with a new script by Michael D. Weiss. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But it's very similar to what we've had before. A group of teenagers think they've accidentally killed a man, maybe a hit and run, maybe a fight gone wrong. They hide the body, swear to keep it secret, but plot twist, similar to the original, the guy's not dead. He's alive, he's pissed, and he's hunting them down. This wasn't a ghost or a supernatural fisherman. It was a human killer like we know from this franchise, wielding that iconic hook, turning the tables on the teens. It's basically the franchise's guilt-driven formula cranked up with a psychological edge. And get this, Sony, initially when they first got the original Wilderness script, they were considering a theatrical release for this before going direct to video. That's how big these two versions could have been. So the first was very wilderness, out there. And the second was basically like a soft remake. So I know what you're all thinking here. Why were these cancelled? Why didn't we get this film? It's classic Hollywood horror. The wilderness idea with its remote locations and survival stunts was probably a budget nightmare for a direct-to-video flick. The Weiss draft, with its theatrical potential, might have been too ambitious for a franchise recovering from I Still Know's mixed reviews. And then there's the production chaos. Director Joe Chappell was fired and Sylvian White was brought in last minute with just 2 weeks to cast. scout locations, and plan what became I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. So the 2006 film we got, set in Colorado with the ghostly fisherman, kept some of that group secret vibe but ditched the wilderness and the living victim twist for something cheaper and trendier, which was a supernatural slasher. And also, because they resurrected Ben Willis, it felt like it tied more into the first two movies. These lost versions of I Know What You Did Last Summer 3 are a slasher fan's fever dream, especially for me. The wilderness excursion could have been amazing. You know, I think that one sounds so interesting. I know it's very Friday the 13th, but I just think it sounds great. You know, the wilderness excursion could have been a heart-pounding survival horror with nature as, like, you know, playing against them as well. The Weiss draft with its vengeful victim promised psychological chills and all that, but it felt too similar to what came before. But both had the chance to breathe new life into the franchise, proving you don't need The Beach or Southport or Julian Ray to make this franchise work. The 2006 film, I wasn't really a fan of it. But these cancelled scripts were the real deal, especially the first. Gritty, gory, and packed with that I Know What You Did Last Summer vibe, and it kind of was taking it into something completely new. This is the kind of mystery that keeps us horror nerds obsessed. A wilderness slasher and a victim-turned-killer story, both left on the cutting room floor, but what do you think? Would you have survived the Outward Bound nightmare, or would the Weiss twist have hooked you more? Drop your thoughts below. Which one would you rather have seen? And let's dream up the ultimate I Know What You Did Last Summer 3 that never happened. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more slasher content. Beyond the Mask is a Patreon supported channel, so if you'd like to become a member and gain access to Scream and horror expanded works, such as a prequel to the events of Scream 1996 in novel format, the original edition of Lakewood: A Scream Story, with an upcoming expansion on other horror works including a Nightmare on Elm Street prequel, audiobooks, graphic novels, all relating to Scream and horror, click the link in the description below, join the crew and become a member today. Until next time, watch your back, because the fisherman always knows what you did last summer.